I think they might be all right.
Yep, right. Hello. Don't
How are you? Yeah, they're good. So, just gotta catch my breath for a second.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah, don't
Get your
start light.
composure.
Don't go over up. All right? Yeah. Never been better.
All right.
Here we are. Pretty much just like Founders and Tips this year.
Would we prefer this not be in the shot? No, I think I'm just gonna hold it.
Like, I like the thing where we're like, how's in the wall right now?
We got it.
Yeah. Good to see you. Y'all warmed up? Yeah. Yeah, Emily's coming. Emily? Emily, could you? It's okay. Sorry, put your bag down. Where are we looking at? Are you guys looking at? Yeah, okay. Just like all around. At the paper. Okay, not at the cameras.
That's what you're talking. You hold this.
It's fine. I don't mind holding it. I'll do this side. Do I need to do a mic check?
What's up?
You're on there. We good?
Yes. Okay, Erica's gonna kick it off, and then we got Senator Yarbrough and Representative Dixie to speak, and then questions at the end. Eric, good to go.
Thank you for being here. On November 13th, 2024, Matthew Vollmer was arrested for secretly recording women during sex without their knowledge or consent. We are those women. Though his crimes spanned multiple years and yielded at least a dozen victims, Matthew can only be held accountable by 4 women due to Tennessee's 1-year statute of limitations. For those of us who only just learned about Matthew's crimes, mere days or weeks before his arrest, this news was not only distressing to learn, but impossible to accept. We face each day with the knowledge that we will never see justice for the crimes committed against us in the court of law. For those of us who can press charges against our offender, we are forced to wait with bated breath for what we can only hope are real consequences for a man who so flagrantly and our sense of security. We brace for the very likely outcome that the man who victimized us faced no jail time at all, a prospect that is as defeating as it is upsetting to contemplate. For all of us who have come forward publicly with our stories, we have opened ourselves up to scrutiny, ridicule, and the most reprehensible judgments, maligning our choices and our character. Let us be clear when we say, the shame for these crimes rests solely on Matthew Vollmer. We denounce any narrative that conveys or implies the opposite. We accept only that we are brave and we are strong and we are resilient in coming forward to speak out on his crimes. But although we have had to endure the most trying few months leading up to this moment, today we are hopeful. We are hopeful not for ourselves, but for the future, for victims who may one day find themselves in this same situation. We are grateful beyond measure that Senator Jeff Yarbrough and Representative Vincent Dixie have agreed to carry the Voyeurism Victims Act, a bill which will change the statute of limitations for these crimes to 1 year from the date of discovery, rather than 1 year from the date the incident occurred. A bill that will hold predators like Matthew Vollmer accountable and ensure the punishment fits the crime. And a bill that will offer new legal protections for victims like us so that we can prevent further harm from our offenders. While we know this bill, if passed, will not apply to us in our situation, we are hopeful that today we are asking the Tennessee General Assembly to remember the people they represent, not the party they represent, for consideration. We ask them to consider if their loved one fell victim to this crime, would a civil remedy be justice enough? If the answer is no, we urge them to vote yes. By voting yes, you stand alongside us in the fight for a more just system. By voting yes, you give victims like us our power back. Thank you.
Yeah. Look, I'm so honored to work with this brave group of women who are truly survivors and using their experience to actually make Tennessee's laws protect other women like them from this happening in the future. They know that this won't necessarily change their particular case. It won't add protections going backwards, but they are using this awful experience that would be devastating to anyone and changing that into a pathway to make this state safer for everyone. And that is model citizenship and the exact type of thing that we need to see more of in the Capitol. I haven't talked to anyone about what happened to this brave group of women who doesn't think this should already be illegal. The law should already provide protection against what happened here and the just grotesque offense that was committed against these women. And we have to make this change. And so we are going to work every day, as long as it takes, to get this bill through and over the finish line, to build consensus around it, to ensure that that people going forward in the state have protection against predators like this. So thank you.
All right, take three. I would like to thank these ladies for stepping up and showing the strength of what happens when you speak out and how a community can come together to protect each other. It takes a lot of inner strength to come up and be vulnerable in this constituent. And I appreciate her for calling me and opening up to me and say, this is what's going on. Are you willing to help? And I didn't think she even finished before I said yes. Because this, and just to put this issue in perspective, if this were to happen to someone that was under 18, it's already a felony. So we're just trying to make it an even playing field that we can protect everyone who's been injured. But I want to again thank these ladies for standing up and speaking out and showing and being inspiration for other people that if something happens, you do not have to just take it. There's always something you can do. And unfortunately, as state representatives, something has happened already for us to take action. We do a lot of retroactive things, but we need to be proactive. And this is a bill that demonstrates that we're going to have to shift the way we govern, because technology is a part of our lives now, and we need to make sure that it's safe for everyone, not only children, but adults. And I would like to thank everyone for coming out, and thank you ladies again for doing this and speaking out and stepping up. We still have a ways to go, but this is the beginning, but we're here to the end. Like as Senator Yarborough said, we're gonna fight till the end. So thank you again, and I appreciate you, but if there's any questions, I think we'll take them at this time.
Erica, Emily, either of you can address this quickly. Tell us what it was like when you learned that you could not prosecute because of the statute of limitations that passed.
My initial reaction was distress, and then my second reaction was outrage. It wasn't fair to me that I found out about this crime and Matthew was arrested not 3 or 4 days later, and I felt like I was immediately robbed of any opportunity to seek justice for myself. I don't know in what world that is fair or that that's right, especially for a victim of a sex crime. We should always have the opportunity to see our offender in court and to call them out for the crimes that they've committed against us. And so outrage. I'm outraged by the law and that I have to resort to this measure because I have no other opportunity to get justice.
I also want to ask for any of you, if Matthew Balmer is watching this today, what would you say to him?
If he's watching this, just know that we're here and we're going to keep fighting and we're going to get justice by any means possible. We'll not let this slide. This is not just going to be a slap on the wrist.
Question for either Jeff or Vince. Do you anticipate any pushback? Like, what would be the hurdle to cross with this legislation?
Well, look, I mean, I think with any piece of legislation, you're always trying to figure out how do you, cover the situation that you're intending to reach, and not draw in situations that might have, be accidental. And I think that's easy to do. I think that we're going to work hard to make sure we've got all of the, T's crossed and I's dotted to make sure that this law is tight and focused on the actual harm, and really can serve to protect and not. But I think we are always going to be careful to ensure that we're not drawing with such a wide brush that we capture someone taking accidental photos or taking things that shouldn't be included within it, as a criminal offense. But that's just a matter of being careful. And so I think anytime you're dealing with new technologies, anytime, frankly, any type of, intimate relationships, there is a level of complexity to doing this. But this legislature has shown, and Vince and I have both worked on cases, issues where we've had to update our laws to deal with new technologies, right? We designed this law for a time when cameras were a substantial size and was not, a hidden camera was something that existed more in the zone of spycraft as opposed to something that, was available in every consumer, facing location in the state. And with that wide availability, there's just a new capacity for harm, and we have to update the laws to get that done. And I think we will.
Real quick, Vince, can you outline for us what would change in this bill as opposed to how things are now?
Thanks, Jeremy. I feel like we have a personal relationship here.
We know each other.
Well, one is, before we get to that, I just kind of want to piggyback on the question that you said earlier. I think this is not a time to play political football. These are real lives that have been impacted, and we need to do whatever we need to do to protect these ladies. I think this should be an easy bill to pass. I think we have a dream team of lobbyists right here, and I think they're going to go work hard and speak on their issue like no one else can. So we should be able to move this bill quickly, and hopefully we can get it into law really quickly. There's a couple things, and I may leave something out, and if it's Jeff can do that. I think the one thing that Erica touched on is we want to change it from the date of the event or the incident to the date of discovery. That would increase the statute of limitations, which ran out on several of these ladies right here. That's a
key elements. I think we'll change the statute of limitations to ensure that discovered this as opposed to when it happened. I think we'll also try to update some of the offense language to ensure that egregious cases like this, where people have gone to great lengths and targeting multiple victims, can qualify as a felony, not just as a misdemeanor. I think we want to make sure that people who commit this offense are subject to orders of protection. And then we also want to make sure that that this statute is defined in a way that ensures that there's a big difference between consent to be in a relationship with someone and consent to being filmed. And we want to ensure that the statutory definitions are clear to make sure that this is right. And the number one reason I think this should pass, I think it will pass, is because it is right. The law should be this way. These women should have had protection. This should have been so clearly illegal that people would not engage in this sense, or at least understand the consequences before doing so. And so, this is a clear case of right and wrong, and these women are in the right. So,
Senator Yarborough, how are you going to specifically define how boy who cries wolf kind of deal, and some men are prosecuted even though they shouldn't be?
So, that's actually built into the statute right now, and is built into numerous statutes. If that were to stop us, there were almost, you couldn't have contract law in the state. There are numerous things where we require that to be a factual matter that determines legal outcomes in courts, and our courts are entirely familiar with that concept. The question is whether the statute actually provides the mechanisms to get it there. Look, there's no question, especially in this case, and that is always going to be something that is a legal and factual matter to prove to a court. And we think that there are numerous instances where, when we're talking about hidden cameras, there's not really much of an argument. But we're seeing, high-profile cases like involving this type of activity across the country and in Tennessee, it is time for the legislature to act.
I think the biggest issue is there's a pattern. There's a huge pattern right here, and this wasn't a one-off. This was a pattern of devious behavior. It needs to be addressed, and he needs to be held accountable.
Right, and like, I mean, that's the thing. So like, this offense, it does not define the brave women behind me, I can assure you, but it does define, you know, the just grotesque acts of this offender.
Do y'all have anything else that you would like to add?
Ladies, speak now.
I mean, I would just like to say that actions have consequences, and he should be held accountable.
I gotta ask you guys, having interviewed most of you, what's it like for you to be up here today? Is it like empowering you all? Is despite the trauma you've gone through?
I feel inspired and empowered by the women around me every time I speak to them, which lately has been every day.
Have you all heard if more women have come forward? Do you know if there are more cases that police know about?
Yes, there have been. We found more victims.
Any numbers at all in terms of how many you think there are at this point?
Not that I'm prepared to talk about.
So what do you guys do? What's next? What do you do to, like, are you meeting, going to lawmakers? What are you doing?
So we will spend the day on the Hill, meeting with different lawmakers. We have meetings scheduled with Republican leadership, Democratic leadership, just to make sure the bill is going to have bipartisan support. And then we'll be working on getting co-sponsors for the legislation. Some of the victims are outside Davidson County, and so we would like to have their state representatives also sign on to the bill. And then other legislators who we know feel passionately about sex crime legislation, we'd be asking for their support as well.
Well, thank y'all so much for coming out.
Thank y'all.
Here's our 11 o'clock. If you need any spelling or anything like that, I'm happy to get that to you. I have everyone emailed as well, but I'm happy to send anything the way you need. Like I said, spelling for everyone as well.
Thank you.
Hey, ladies, pop quiz. What's this called?
A jacket.
A
Alright,
jacket.
wow.
I gave them a little.
I love
A little.
the bill jacket. Senate bill jackets are this color. House bill jackets are white.
The middle of it. Thank you so much, Laura Campbell.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah. Seriously, thank y'all. So,
Thank you.
Erica,
like,
right?
yeah.
Hey, I vote for you.
I've been doing this for like 10 years. So I got we still have a little time to make some adjustments, but I asked for them to draft it broadly enough that I could address civil stuff within it. So I mean, partially that'll depend on assuming that we've got people on our side, right? Then yeah, I think we can do that. If there end up being closer calls, then you try to take complication out, right? But I didn't put it in the original draft, but I've made it broad. So weirdly, it's got to open the right sections, and so the civil stuff's in different sections than the civil stuff, or the criminal and civil are in different sections. So I asked for them to draft it to be a criminal statute, but to open the civil captions so that I could put that in. Yeah. I mean, so now, Eric, so remind me, where are you? You're right.
Awesome, thank you. We gotta run.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming out.
I believe so. I think my wife may be in the trial.
Approximately 5 minutes.
Tyler Garber.